In an era dominated by screens and also fast content, the return of classic theatre is a bold and beautiful reminder of the power of live performance. So at Egypt's iconic National Theatre, a legendary work is making its way back to the spotlight. We're talking about King Lear, performed by none other than the great Yahya al-Fakhrani. And about this, we're talking to Dr. Rasha Al-Gohari, the Assistant Professor of English Literature at the Faculty of Alston. I would like to welcome you, Dr. Rasha, for being here with me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, talking first of all about the adaptation of world literature into the stage performances, what is the importance of developing artistic and intellectual taste in this regard?
Actually, it's very important because when young people in general view works adapted in the form of live performances on the stage, they can tell the difference between a good, well-written work and a work that could be considered a little bit mediocre. They get to see, or they can tell the difference between a well-knit plot, well-developed characters or stock characters, so they develop a high artistic taste. Also, the language of the classics is very important. I know that King Lear, Dr. Yahya al-Fakhrani, is actually performing it in standard Arabic, so it will definitely raise awareness of the Arabic language and will make young people fall in love with Arabic language and maybe read more works using that language.
In your point of view, what makes King Lear one of Shakespeare's works, of course the greatest among his works, is living until today and is still relevant and still interesting to youth? What makes it long-living this way?
Okay, although it's a very tragic work, we have to admit, but it discusses timeless themes. Themes that cross borderlines, that cross cultural boundaries, all of that. It discusses themes, for example, like madness, old age, inheritance, family problems, love, hatred, betrayal, loyalty, friendship. So these themes continue to exist till our days.
So many values that are discussed widely nowadays.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, of course. So also, how do live performances as well of classics do offer or even differ in emotional and educational impact from reading them in books? The experience is very different. So in your point of view, how do you analyze this?
Definitely, they offer a higher emotional intensity, higher emotional involvement when you see a literary work being performed live in front of you. First of all, it's an immersive experience because you get involved with all your senses: sight, hearing, movement. You get to hear the actor's tone, the body movement, the lights in the stage, the costume design, the sets. So all of that makes you really involved. Another thing, it's a communal experience. You're not alone. Reading is usually a lonely experience, but when you're sitting in the stage, you're with other audience members. So it's like they create a certain vibe that is transmitted to you. If you go, for example, to see the opera, Omar Khayrat, for example, performing, you find all the audience clapping and singing, and they create, they create this sort of very joyful atmosphere, so you yourself feel happy as you're leaving the theater.
Of course. So do you think this language of tool to be used in showcasing such great works of Shakespeare or even other artists, do you think this language is delivered to who exactly? To youth or to families or to elder people, so that we can make sure we're talking to every segment by the language that is suitable and convenient to every one of them?
I think everyone is affected. For example, Dr. Yahya al-Fakhrani was talking about the play King Lear. Although it's a tragic play and it's quite serious, he says that most of the audience that go and watch the play are actually university students. So it attracts a wide variety of ages. If you watch or you see clips, for example, taken from the theater during the performance, you'll find also small children watching the play. So it interests all generations. And especially with the innovation in the theater now and the development of technology, they can actually use lots of techniques that would involve a younger audience.
Like what, for example?
Dr. Shadi Soor, for example, the director of King Lear, I was just reading that he said that he used graphics, images, and music to portray scenes that are usually not depicted on stage. So this would create a very interesting experience for viewers who would be bored. For example, if I talk to them about a war happening in the background but they can't see it. Now they can visually see it through cinematic techniques that are actually integrated in the theater.
Okay, and do you think these tools are, when it comes to the ethics of using them, do you think they are uncovering everything and they are not leaving anything for the tourists to have something that is surprise discovery for them, or do you think it is quite beneficial to give the full exposure to anyone before visiting the museum? I'm talking about the AI and also the technological tools used in exposing the museum to
Okay, if
put
we're
people
talking
abroad?
about the museum and
Yes.
I think that AI is very interesting. I have been actually to the Grand Egyptian Museum, and there is this display, this room where you see lots of different activities done during ancient civilization using a screen, and everything comes in motion, and you really get immersed in the experience and you really get involved. So I think, yes, technology can help attract different ages and different age groups to go to visit historical sites.
Okay, and of course it's important to use the English literature in this regard and to link it to the historical places and the added value of them to know more about them. So also talking about the role that do actors and especially icons like Yahya al-Fakhrani is playing in reviving interest in global literary masterpieces, to what extent do you think such works could raise the attention to critical thinking values when it comes to youth and even any audience, any type of audience?
Of course, Yahya al-Fakhrani is an iconic actor, not just in the theater, but also on television, in the
Sure.
cinema. And definitely, his name is enough to bring audience rushing into the theater to watch the play.
Sure.
Concerning critical thinking, I think that when a younger audience watches these plays, and these plays are highly problematic, they provide ethical questions and lots of gray areas to be discussed. So they're going to be raising discussions about lots of different topics. For instance, a play like Taming of the Shrew for William Shakespeare as well. One of the questions that we usually raise, for example, when we're giving it in class is, what do you think of Baptista as a father, as a father figure? Is he really a good father? Is he a bad father?
What are the answers that you usually get often
You
from your
get
students?
different opinions. Some students would agree that he's a good father because they think that he's trying to find a husband for his daughter, because especially in the 16th century, marriage was essential for a woman. And some think, no, he's just taking a risk by giving her to a man whom they've met for the first time and they have nothing, they don't know anything about. So the discussions themselves actually encourage critical thinking among youngsters.
Yes, and this comes here, the role of universities and institutions. To what extent do you think they are supporting this value in particular when discussing these themes with youth?
Universities and academic institutions have an important role to play. First of all, we do have drama clubs and theater clubs where you can have students joining from all years across the university. They can also sponsor small theatrical troupes, mainly composed of young actors, and the sponsorship doesn't really have to be financial. It could be through providing space for them to rehearse. It could be providing some professional people that would teach them how to direct a play, or the equipment that they need for the play. We also use acting in classes. So for instance, instead of reading a scene in a book, we could actually act out the scene. So the students get to feel the information, get to know the emotions of the characters. So there are lots of other things that they can do.
So Dr. Rasha, from your experience dealing with the students, do you think that nowadays the current generation of youth, are they having hunger for deeper knowledge and for more linkage to the artistic works like King Lear or even other works, or how do you analyze this point?
Although, okay, it is usually said that they're more interested in TikTok videos and watching reels and stuff, I have been dealing with this age group for quite a long time now, and I've been teaching literature, so I know that they're really interested in culture, especially when you start exposing them to it. A good example is even Facebook. You see lots of advertisements on Facebook about different trips to historical sites and cultural sites in Egypt. And you actually see pictures of lots of young people joining these trips, which means that they are interested. They just need to be provided with the opportunities. You also find TikTok videos made by youngsters actually, and they actually cover historical sites as well. I see it in class when I introduce them to something like world literature. So they get exposed to literature from all over the world. They're hungry to know about different cultures, about traditions, customs, the histories of different culture.
So, Dr. Rasha, what works that you personally wish to see on stage as being live performed for audience?
Actually, lots of works.
Like what?
Oliver Twist, for example, by Charles Dickens,
Yes.
Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen, Little Women, Louisa May Alcott. But if I was going to start with something, I would start with Oliver Twist.
Okay,
Mainly
why so?
Because, first of all, I imagine that it would be a musical play.
Okay.
And I think it would be interesting because you'd have actors from different ages,
Okay.
which would encourage even very young children to go to the theater and watch it.
Yes.
And it discusses issues like homeless children which is actually a topic that is relevant to us nowadays.
Sure.
And so you see their lives and the miserable things that they go through. So it's a really relevant topic as well.
I would like to go on for hours with you, Dr. Rasha. Thank you so much for being here with us on RTV International, also in our cruise show. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here.